back to Be Terrific. It is Sports Late Night with Jason Aron. Who, you ask? That's right, Jason Aron. I am the director of Back in Time. I came on board with Be Terrific about a year ago as Michael Arcis brought me in to talk a lot of Back to the Future. As you can see behind me, we got DeLoreans and lots more DeLoreans. But my true passion is sports. I'm working on another sports documentary right now. And as you can see behind me, some of my favorites, Wayne Gretzky. Who else we got back there? Mo Rivera, Derek Jeter. I'm a New York guy. I love New York sports, love the Yankees, love the Knicks, love the Rangers, and I love the Cowboys, the Dallas Cowboys. Why? Well, I should tell you about it first. Sixth grade, one of my teachers, huge Dallas Cowboys fan, couldn't control myself, and I became a Dallas Cowboys fan for life. So that's what it is. Of course, didn't hurt growing up in the 90s that the Cowboys under the reign of Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin and Deion Sanders were busy winning Super Bowls and killing the Bills and doing all this great stuff. And it's been a lot of lean years since then. But, you know, this morning I was talking with Michael Arcis, my Be Terrific cohort, and we really got into it. Why? Because Tony Romo went down. Tony Romo broke one of the vertebrae in his back over the weekend, the preseason, in case you've been living under a rock. And it looks like he'll be out for at least half the season. But, Dallas fans, there is hope. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. Talk a little bit of New York sports. Talk a little bit of my Dallas Cowboys and the hatred of the New York Giants. And maybe you could hate me back and hit me up on the Slack chat. And I think it's very interesting because as New Yorkers, we tend to think that the entire world revolves around us. It's a fact. New Yorkers think that. And I'm guilty of it, but when you start to think about it, I mean, we've had a lot of lean years. You know, New York, you got to look per capita. We have so many professional teams. In hockey, we have 3 professional teams in the New York metro area, the Devils, Islanders, and Rangers. In basketball, we have the Knicks and the Nets. In football, you have the Giants and Jets. And, of course, in baseball, you have the Mets and Yankees. And now, if you're a soccer fan, if you're into that sort of thing, you have MLS has all these teams. So, but one in New Jersey, one in New York. That's another 2 professional teams. And we can't forget about the ladies. Got the New York Liberty, too. So I just named you 10 professional sports teams that reside here in New York. Yet, well, the Yankees won a championship in 2009. The Knicks haven't won anything in my lifetime. The Rangers won in 94, but, I mean, you blink. That was 22 years ago. 22 years ago. I am getting old because I remember that Stanley Cup run like it was yesterday. The Islanders haven't won anything since the 80s. The Nets did win a championship or 2 in the 90s, so that was cool. But they're the Nets, and they play in a swamp, so nobody really notices. And then Big Blue. For you Big Blue fans, that's right, the Giants won 2 Super Bowls. They did, but again, glory days seem to have faded. So we haven't had much in the last couple of years, but I think the bigger thing is we haven't had much to get excited about. The Mets are certainly the little brother to the New York Yankees in this city. And although they made a World Series run last year, it was improbable and it fell flat on its face. I mean, what the Royals did to the Mets in last year's World Series almost makes it seem like the Mets didn't make the World Series. That's how bad it was. It was over that quick. And just checking some chat here. And it's, you know, it's hard to stomach if you're a New York fan. It's hard to do this every single year and live with the pain and the sorrow that is being a New York sports fan. And, it's tough. It's really, really tough. So what do I want to talk about tonight and what's important to me and what got me all fired up this morning about the Dallas Cowboys? Well, the first thing I can tell you, Be Terrific fans, Terrifics, Michael and I will be doing a sports show going forward. So some new content, maybe weekly, maybe bi-weekly, maybe every other day. We're not sure yet, but we're going to pick a night, and this is sort of the precursor to that. I'm just going to get you all fired up so that Michael can step in and the two of us can sort of duke it out, especially during the football season, with me being a Cowboys fan and all. And we're going to do that for you on a night. Let us know what night you want. Perhaps we'll do it late Sunday night so we can kind of get you right in on the NFL action as soon as it's over. Michael and I will be playing hockey on Sunday nights, so maybe we'll head right over to the studio after that and do that. And that's the first thing that you guys at Terrifics need to know, that there will be a new Be Terrific Sports Show coming at you very, very soon. The next thing you need to know is that I, as a Dallas Cowboys fan living in New York, can no longer stand the hatred of Tony Romo and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the one thing that I will give fans around the NFL is that Jerry Jones is fairly inept. The man's been around football for a long time, but he is now the only living person that tries to be the owner and the GM and, I mean, the coach half the time. You see the guy down on the field, who knows what he's whispering in Jason Garrett's ears. And it's very hard to do that. You almost don't fault him for not being able to do it, but my God, hire a GM that can handle it, because in the reign of Tony Romo, what it seems to me as a Dallas Cowboy fan is that they've never given him all the pieces. He's had some great offenses. He currently has the greatest offensive line in football, and you saw 2 years ago with DeMarco Murray there. I mean, the guy ran like he was playing against peewee kids. Yet the defense is terrible. I mean, does Jerry forget that you play half the game against the other team's offense? And, you know, Dallas, I don't remember the last great Dallas defense. They've done some things right. Jerry's brought in some good people. Wade Phillips seemed to have, been a defensive guy, and that's what he was known as, but didn't really get the job done. It's like they just don't have the right personnel. The secondary is never great. You have Sean Lee, who is 5'0" and arguably one of the best players at his position in the NFL, but the guy can't stay healthy for 5 games in a season. And that hurts Dallas every year, because you have the promise of him leading that defensive unit, because he is truly a leader out there. And then he gets hurt and he goes down, and there goes that. Their secondary has never been good. Yet for some reason, the problem with the Dallas Cowboys is that Tony Romo isn't clutch. If I had $1 for every time that I heard that Tony Romo was not a clutch football player, I wouldn't be doing this show now, because I would be so rich that I would be living on an island in Barbados, sipping Muay Thais or Mai Tais or whatever you call that drink at, now on the beach, just awaiting the next day, because I would be filthy, filthy, filthy rich, and nothing in life would matter. But guess what? Tony Romo is a clutch football player. Alert! Don't go anywhere. Don't change your channels. Tony Romo is absolutely a great football player. How do I know? Well, Tony Romo is, not arguably, but statistically, the greatest fourth quarter quarterback in the NFL. Now, I brought some stats up here, because I understand that this is a bold statement. It is certainly bold. And they have an overall score here for the top 21 quarterbacks in the NFL, and this goes back, I believe 2014 this list was published. And Tony Romo, out of a ranking with a top score of 100, of course, was ranked 100. And then from there, you have Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Eli Manning, the Giants quarterback, down at number 8, Jay Cutler, Josh Freeman. Well, we're into Josh Freeman. I mean, the guy doesn't even play in the NFL anymore, so I'll stop reading. But Tony Romo has the highest fourth quarter quarterback rating in the NFL. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Let's see what we have here. TD to interception ratio in the fourth quarter. Tony Romo, lowest in the NFL. You are looking at a guy that constantly has to come out on the field in the fourth quarter because his defense can't get the job done, and gets it done. And the other thing that I love hearing, and I'm going to look this up here, is that Tony Romo is injury prone. In fact, Michael Artsis and I got into a heated battle over dinner about the fact that Tony Romo was injury prone. Well, some people say they don't like stats. Stats are for fantasy guys. I want to see how many rings you have. Rings, you say. Rings. Well, it ain't about rings all the time, because Eli Manning has 2 rings, and I certainly can't take them away from him. But my God, did he play on 2 incredible, incredible defensive teams. And if not for David Tyree catching a ball on a fluke Hail Mary off his helmet, the Giants don't win that first Super Bowl. So, let's talk about Tony Romo and his injuries. So we're going to look that up here. And I think you're going to be shocked. I truly think you're going to be shocked. And here we are at NFL.com. Tony Romo, and again, this is NFL.com, folks. I'm not making it up. Tony Romo played his first full season in 2005. Tony Romo played 16 games that season. Tony Romo in 2006, 16 games that season. Tony Romo 2007, 16 games. 2008, played 13, very respectable, limited injuries. 2009, 16 games that season. 2010, 6 years ago, Tony Romo sustained a major injury. That was the first time that he broke his collarbone. He played 6 games that season and missed the rest of the season. Now, these things happen, collarbone injuries. But then you say, but his collarbone, now it's broken. And now the guy can't play anymore. Well, let's hold on a second. 2011, the year after. How many games did Tony Romo play? 16. 2012, year after that. 16. 2013, 15. And 2014, 15. Now, I don't have it in front of me, but the Cowboys did make the playoffs in those years, and I'm not sure if that last game of the season, game number 16, they intentionally left him on the bench. So I'm not sure about that, but even so, you get all the way to 2014, and in the in the 4 years following Tony Romo's first collarbone injury, he played all but one game in 2 seasons and the full season in 2 seasons. 16, 16, 15, 15. Where is injury prone? What am I missing, folks? He missed 3 games one season and 2 games in 2 other seasons. That's injury prone. If you're a Giants fan, you're spoiled. Eli Manning finds a way to stay on the field. He does. And it's because before he gets hit, he just flings the ball somewhere and throws a lot of interceptions. If you don't believe that, look it up. He leads the NFL in interceptions. He's up there on the top of that list every single year. I'm not making that stat up. Now, last year, 2015, Tony Romo broke his collarbone again at the hand of the New York Giants, the dirty, dirty New York Giants, who took him out, and he only played 4 games. Now, this injury, it's been notable that Tony Romo has had back problems throughout his career. And that's why, folks, I think call him injury prone, because you always hear about the back, and he's taking shots. But you know what? The guy stays on the field and puts up numbers. This is actually the first time that Tony Romo in his career will miss major, major minutes because of a back injury. So while we've been hearing about it for years and years, this is really the first time it's going to rear its ugly head. Now, Tony Romo is 36 years old. Brett Favre played into his 40s, and that guy the guy's body's broken now because of injuries. So you say, well, maybe it's time for the Dallas Cowboys to give it up. And to tell Tony Romo, go find the rocking chair, because you know what, Tony? Your days here are numbered. Well, that's interesting. It's an interesting thought. I don't know. But the one thing that you absolutely cannot fault the Cowboys on is that they've certainly been planning for the future in some way or another. And here we go here. As I fall off the screen for a little bit, I'm going to look up for you guys some Dallas Cowboy stats on their brand new quarterback. That's right. Dak Prescott, folks. Dak Prescott. Now, does he come into the league, as the next coming of Peyton Manning? No. Does he come touted like Andrew Luck did when he entered the league for the Colts and just put up numbers? No. But let's look at Dak Prescott's college number, shall we? We shall. Now, I know what you're thinking. College? College? You want to talk to me about college? Well, I do. Because Dak Prescott played for Mississippi State in the SEC. A very notable college football conference. And he put up some legit numbers. He didn't play much as a freshman. But as a sophomore, junior, and senior, 58% passing, 61% passing, and 66% passing. You throw the ball, the guy catches the ball. If anything, accuracy goes up in the NFL because your receivers can catch a little bit better. Although there are some other issues, of course. You don't have as much time and that sort of thing. He threw for almost 10,000 yards with an average of over 8 yards, threw for 70 touchdowns in college, only 23 interceptions, and had a passer rating of 146. And his junior and senior year, he was over 150 in both of those years. If you want to tell me this guy doesn't have upside, I don't know what you're looking at. But, of course, you have a rookie quarterback, and you want to protect him. So, you're going to... The Cowboys at this point, even though Prescott has shown some legitimate numbers in the preseason, and he's a big guy, 6'2", 230, strapping young man. He's shown some legitimate numbers in the preseason, but you might want to be a little careful with him. Of course, you don't want to throw the ball too much. You don't want to risk interceptions. And, oh, by the way, there's a guy who played for the top football program in this country year after year, the Ohio State University, Ezekiel Elliott, who comes into the Dallas Cowboys as, my goodness, the best-looking rookie running back in the NFL. In fact, and I didn't verify this myself, but I heard it from some fantasy players. I'm not a huge fantasy guy. But Elliott was the 7th-ranked player in all of fantasy this year. All of fantasy. Not at his position. In all of fantasy, a rookie. That is astonishing. Astonishing. And let's look at some of his college numbers. He had 4,400 yards. And what's interesting is his freshman year he had 285. He was not the starting guy. So you're looking at, and he only played 3 seasons. So you're looking at 2,098 yards and 2,027 yards. That should blow your mind. Over 2,000 yards a year in the 2 years that he started in college. And 18 and 23 touchdowns, respectively. He had 41 touchdowns in 2 seasons. Geez, that's a lot. And, the guy has looked like an absolute stud in the preseason. Now, you want to fault Dallas for their defense? Okay, let's fault Dallas for their defense. I'll give it to you. Their defense is not great. But when you look at a rookie quarterback who's going to come into the league excited, playing behind an offensive line that is not arguably the best in the NFL, hands down. Find someone to disagree with that. Any prognosticator, anyone that knows football, you won't. And now you throw in the best rookie running back of the bunch, running behind a great offensive line, and a new quarterback. I mean, why aren't you excited if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan? I have a good friend, and he tells me, well, look at what Dallas has done over the last 10 years. They're nothing but a 500 ball club. And that's partly true. No, in fact, it's mostly true. If you go look at Dallas's record, average over the last 10 years, they're basically a 500 team. They've only made the playoffs 3 times, and it's been ugly. Of course, if not for a bad call by the referees, they would have been playing for the NFC Championship game. But other than that, they never won more than a game. So, Dallas fans, I'm excited, and you should be excited, because the Cowboys have an incredible wide receiving core. They have one of the best playmakers in the NFL, Des Bryant, who's still got a lot left in the tank, folks. A lot left in the tank. And they can run. If you look at what the Cowboys did 2 years ago, and they made that run to the NFC semifinal, sorry. What they had was DeMarco Murray running behind a pack of wolves, okay, for one of the best running back seasons you've ever seen in the NFL. Almost broke every record out there. And why did he have such a good season? Because of the offensive line. Now, last year, the Cowboys, listen, it's hard to say they made a mistake because at the end of the day, there's a money thing. There's a money factor in the NFL. You can't just give a guy top dollar. You have to be looking at the rest of the roster, and they had to let DeMarco Murray go to Philadelphia. Well, what did that tell you? Because his season in Philly was garbage. He did nothing. And it just goes to show how good the Dallas offensive line was the year before. And then, you take a look at what Dallas had running last year. Now look, when Romo went down last year, it was ugly. They had no contingency plan. They were throwing out some terrible quarterbacks. None of them were reliable. And they couldn't manage to put a game together. Well, you know what? I'm almost glad that Romo went down now. Clearly, Dak Prescott is what Dallas is looking at now as the future. I don't quite know if they thought that week 1 of the 2016 season was the future, but he is the future. They're going to lean on him. I'm sure. Listen, I heard Mark Sanchez today. I heard all sorts of things. They're going to bring in another guy to be the backup because you need to fill the depth chart. You need another quarterback on that roster now just in case things don't go well. But you still have 2 weeks before the regular season. You have a whole week next week to play around in a preseason game. September 11th, you play the Giants at home Sunday night. I've been waiting all day, and all the bright lights on the Dallas Cowboys. And why do I bring up the New York Giants? Well, this one's a little interesting. You see, Giants ain't that good. In fact, neither are the Eagles, and neither are the Redskins. None of those 3 teams were good last year, and it's a shame that Dallas couldn't put something together. And they were look at the scores from last year and the way that those games broke down. Dallas was in so many games. It was their division to lose, and they lost it. There's nothing I can say about it because they didn't have a running game. If you have to bring in backup quarterbacks and you don't have a running game, of course you're going to lose games. You're asking a guy to throw the ball all over the place. It was too much for them to handle. This situation is not. You're playing in a weak division, so you get 6 games against weak opponents. And that starts right in week 1. You win week 1 and you're 1-0 in the division. You've sent another team in the division to 0-1, and that's important. All right, this isn't baseball, guys. You got 16 games. So if you can get off to that hot start, win at home against the Giants, opening night, confidence to the team, confidence to Dak Prescott and these new rookies, and you're going somewhere. Let's take a look at the Dallas schedule. Let's look at that. Because I gotta tell you, the division to me is not out of hand. And I think if Dak Prescott can play all right, when Tony Romo comes back or is ready to come back, they're not going to rush him back in. They'll give him that extra week if he needs it. And then Dallas will be in a position where they could run Tony Romo a fresh arm, a fresh set of legs into the playoffs, where he will not have a ton of wear on him. And if Dallas could just keep those numbers up a little bit, you may have Tony Romo. Or what's the worst case scenario? That Dak Prescott is the quarterback of the future of the Dallas Cowboys? Listen, you hate to think that a starter, can lose his job to injury. It's one of the things in sports that it's almost it almost never happens that a player loses his job to injury. But you know what? Sometimes it's next man up. Look what happened in New England when Tom Brady came in. It happens, guys. Week 1, Dallas against the Giants. Week 2, they're on the road against the Redskins. And this is what I'm talking about. If Dallas can pull off wins, and these are not, they're not playing the Patriots. They're playing the Giants and the Redskins. But you beat 2 division opponents. Give them each a loss. Go 2-0 in your division. And my God, are you off to a good start. From there, you have the Bears. You never know with the Bears. And by the way, I apologize. I called the first game Sunday night game. It's not. The Dallas Giants game is 4:25 East, 1:25 in the West. So that is just a regular 4 o'clock game in Dallas. Now, you play the Bears week 3. You play the 49ers week 4. Those are 2 teams, to me, I don't know. I don't know what the Cowboys are going to be. I certainly don't know what those 2 teams are going to be. And Colin Kaepernick's not exactly, favorite child of the NFL at this point. Side note. Then you got the Bengals. The Bengals are usually pretty good. You cross over into the AFC. Who knows there? But that's week 5. Then you got the Packers. That's a tough game. But depending on what Dallas is at week 6, who knows? So let's even put them 4-2 after week 6. Say they lose to the Bengals, lose to the Packers. Okay? Then you got the Eagles. Right after that. Jeez. I don't know if the Eagles are so good. Browns, Steelers, Ravens. So you finish your AFC schedule there. Of course, for those that don't know, you play one full division in the opposite conference every year, in case you're wondering how that works. So you got a bunch of AFC games in a row, but somewhere in there, you assume that Tony Romo is going to be coming back right around there. Then, of course, after that, You get the Redskins again, the Vikings, who knows what they're going to be, and you finish the season Giants, Buccaneers, Lions, Eagles. Wow. Let's look at the last 6 weeks of the Cowboys season. Now, right now they're calling worst case scenario for Tony Romo 10 games. So if you look at the last 6 weeks of the Cowboys schedule, Vikings, Giants, Buccaneers, Lions, Eagles. Sorry, that's the last 5 weeks. Put the Redskins there for the last 6 weeks. Redskins, Vikings, Giants, Buccaneers, Lions, Eagles. Tell me which one of those games the Dallas Cowboys with Tony Romo cannot win. Cannot win. Dallas could go into there with 6 games left at 5-5 and finish the season 11-6. 11-5. Easily. Easily 11-5. Running off those 6 games, Tony Romo, he's back. He's fresh. There's an excitement in Dallas. In fact, of those games, it's 3 at home, 3 on the road. The 3 road games are Vikings, Giants, Eagles. For some reason, Dallas always finishes the season against the Giants or the Eagles. And on the road, they're on the road at the Eagles this year. That game might not even matter. That game might not even matter. 11-5, folks. Absolutely, Dallas wins this division. Absolutely. So for the haters out there, the Giants haters, the Jets haters, and the NFL haters, because I get it. People hate the Cowboys. I get it. I hear it. I understand it. It looks to me like Dallas ain't in such bad shape. Now, Dak Prescott doesn't perform. Ezekiel Elliott doesn't run the ball. Injuries. You never know in this league. You don't. But I like today, on August 28th, where the Dallas Cowboys are. They're not down and out yet. You could post your memes on social media. You can make fun of Tony Romo. You can call him injury prone. Well, let me tell you something. You don't even know what you're talking about. But, Dallas Cowboys are down. They're not out. Folks, we're going to move on from the Cowboys. We're going to talk about some other teams. The Knicks. I'm excited about the Knicks this year. The Knicks got some new players, some faces that everybody's going to recognize. They made some moves. Maybe Carmelo Anthony can get over all his Olympic wins and play some basketball at Madison Square Garden on 32nd and 7th over there. Get something done. We'll see. Everyone's getting very excited about the Yankees and the Mets because it's the end of August. And when you see a single-digit number in front of you, oh boy, do you get giddy that there's a chance. Well, let me be the first to tell you there's no chance. The New York Yankees, and I'm as big a Yankee fan as anyone, I gave up on them months ago. Months ago when they were in the toilet. And they proved me right when they went ahead and they sold off the whole team for a bag of balls. Now, I understand they got some prospects, but you get rid of Andrew Miller and Aroldis Chapman, you're done. It's over. Their starting pitching is completely unreliable. Even if they squeaked into a wild card spot, which they won't, and I'll get there, what shot do they have in the playoffs? Now, I get it. Tanaka has been lights out. He's been lights out. His last number of starts, and I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm not even going to look them up, but he's been great. So if you have a playing game, you're throwing Tanaka, you set it up for Tanaka, although who knows that you could even set up for Tanaka because you might have some wins that you need to get in the last week, and you need to throw him there. So you don't know. But they lost to the Orioles today. 5-0. I mean, they went ahead and put up numbers. I mean, it looked like they were playing Sunday morning softball. And then you go and you lose to the Orioles, one of the big teams in front of you. You know, so you don't move up that 3 games in the standings over the weekend, and now you go play the Royals. Well, mark my words, when the Royals series is over and we hit September, the Yankee season 2 will be over. Too many teams to climb in the wild card. The division title already seems unsurmountable. So, it's done. And the Mets are in a very similar situation. I mean, they don't have the same team situation that the Yankees have, but they're holding on to a hope and a prayer. Just too many teams in front of them with not enough time, and they're not playing good enough ball. So, for me tonight, that's it. Jason Aron, late night with you. It's 11:20 on the East Coast, and it was great to come at you late night. Be terrific. And again, just to repeat for those who are tuning in late, Michael Artsis, the godfather of Be Terrific, and I will be doing a sports show for you guys coming very soon on a night TBA, and we'll just talk. We'll talk New York sports. We'll talk national sports. We'll say the things that they just won't say on ESPN radio because this is the internet, guys. we could kind of say whatever we want. So look forward to that. It's coming soon. And it was great to come to you here. Again, I am Jason Aron, director of Back in Time. I'm directing a brand new sports documentary on youth sports. There's a lot in development there. So stay tuned to that, and you'll hear more about that, ways you could follow along. Because if you have kids, if you're paying attention, I mean, there is nothing bigger than youth sports, both here in the United States and globally. So I'll bring you more of that. And of course, the thing that brought me to Be Terrific in the first place, that is Back in Time. It's the documentary about Back to the Future. It is on Netflix. It is on iTunes. It's just about everywhere that you consume digital media. Amazon. Buy yourself a copy. Or rent it and watch on Amazon if you're an Amazon Prime user. Or just a regular Amazon user. You can, I believe you can get on there. iTunes and Netflix, folks. I mean, listen. If you're already paying for Netflix, go ahead and watch it for free. We got Michael J. Fox, Steven Spielberg, Christopher Lloyd, Claudia Wells, Don Full, the whole cast and crew. And the greatest fan stories. I mean, the last hour of the film just dives into how Back to the Future has affected fans' lives. And this was a film funded by the fans on Kickstarter twice in both 2013 and 14. And we released it on October 21st, 2015, Future Day, when Marty went into the future to meet his son, Marty Jr., and stop peril from happening in Hill Valley, California. Hill Valley. I always love that one. So check it out. Back in Time is the name of the film. And I'm going to sign off here, and we will bring you back to some Be Terrific programming. Again, Jason Aron invading your computer screens on Be Terrific late night, talking some Cowboys. America's team. Get excited. I'll be back with you shortly on another night at another time to talk more sports. Signing off. See ya.